Every day, she puts on a specially made lace-eye mask, then covers her face with a black veil before she can step outside. Even though she is wrapped up tightly, her graceful figure and composed aura make her even more mysterious, drawing countless celebrities and nobles to fall at her feet. She has long stopped being moved by men's amazed stares and words of praise, but when she sees that familiar figure, Lucia nearly loses control. This man is Jackamo, the first love buried deep in her heart, the one she has never been able to let go of. 16 years ago, Lucia's entire family worked as servants on a noble estate. Although her status was humble, she loved reading and liked searching for freedom inside books. One ordinary afternoon, she was lying under a tree, taking a short rest. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence.
Hello?
What?
Is this the quickest way to Paziano?
Yes. Are you going to the wedding?
On your approval, my lady.
This was the scene of Lucia's first meeting with Jackamo. Many years later, she still cannot forget that voice as gentle as a spring breeze, and that warm, elegant figure. A few days later, it would be the wedding day of the Count's daughter. Jackamo and his brother were invited from Venice to attend the wedding, never expecting to meet a woman who would change his fate. Soon, the two met again on the estate, and so, the prelude of destiny began.
I didn't know the Countess had another daughter.
The daughter of the housekeeper.
Who happens to read Voltaire?
No law against reading books, is there?
Jackamo was surprised that a maid would actually enjoy reading. He was even more surprised that, like him, she loved Voltaire's books and longed for a free, unrestrained life. Every day on the estate, his eyes kept following Lucia's figure, and Lucia could also catch, with perfect accuracy, the deep affection he sent from across the distance. When Jackamo was trapped by a noble young lady, she would help him out of the situation. Then she took him to the lakeside where she often went. In other people's eyes, the lake was ordinary and common, but to Lucia, it was magical, because it could change according to the vessel that held it. When she spoke her thoughts, Jackamo's heart trembled. This girl could see things others could not. She was simply an uncarved piece of jade. He watched Lucia slowly walk into the water. Her whole body floated on the surface like a light feather. At that moment, she was like a fairy who had fallen into the mortal world. The two did not return from the lakeside until late at night, worried that she might catch cold. Jackamo thoughtfully draped his coat over her shoulders. After hesitating for a long time, he finally invited Lucia inside to sit for a while. Although she knew clearly that after the wedding ended, he would return to Venice, and she would still be a country girl bound to the lake and the soil, Lucia still decided to stay. However, Jackamo's brother walked in at the wrong moment, breaking the ambiguous atmosphere between them, but the flame hidden in their hearts was gradually being lit. From that night on, whenever Jackamo found the chance, he would stay close to Lucia, and Lucia also learned about his great ambition. Jackamo had always dreamed that one day he could reach the social level he longed for. He hoped to claim a place in Venice's upper society. Although Lucia was only a humble maid and was not allowed to enter the dance floor, Jackamo saw in her a brilliance that noble young ladies did not possess. The two secretly slipped outside and sealed their love with a kiss. However, after returning to the room, Jackamo held back all his impulses. He knew Lucia was not a casual girl, and he knew even more that reputation was everything to a girl.
This might be our only chance.
So marry me.
He knelt down seriously and proposed to Lucia. He promised that once his position in Venice became stable, he would definitely return to marry her. To show his sincerity, he even went to Lucia's father to ask for her hand. Only after receiving her father's approval did he begin his journey home. Before parting, he placed a necklace in Lucia's hand. He promised that it would not be long before he came back. Lucia held back her grief and began counting the days from that moment. She looked forward to the happy life arriving sooner, but she never expected that after this farewell, everything would change. When the Countess learned that Lucia had been proposed to, she was happy for her too. Every day, she took Lucia with her and taught her the manners of high society. Although Lucia was still doing the work of a maid, her heart was constantly waiting for her lover's arrival. One day, the Countess returned from Venice. She brought back several beautiful gowns for Lucia, so she could stun everyone at the wedding. But that night, while Lucia was trying on a gown, her mother suddenly burst in.
Take off the dress! Take it off! No! Take off the dress! It has to be burnt!
Only after she walked out did she learn the truth. The Countess had been infected with smallpox in Venice and had suddenly died. Everything she had touched had to be burned. The funeral had not even ended before everyone fled in terror, because red rashes had appeared on Lucia's face too. To prevent her from infecting others, Lucia was locked inside an abandoned warehouse. Her entire body was tightly tied to a bed. Fortunately, after treatment, she survived. But tragically, her face and body were left with many ugly scars. Not long after, Jackamo sent word from Venice. He would soon return to marry Lucia. But when Lucia heard this good news, her heart felt as if it had been cut open. Her own beautiful life had already been completely ruined. She could not ruin the life Jackamo had worked so hard to build. She did not want him to marry an ugly woman and become a laughingstock. She asked a friend to pass on the message that she had already fallen in love with someone else. But looking at her anxious lover in the courtyard, Lucia could no longer hold back her tears. She forced herself not to open the window and call out to him. Only when Jackamo slowly walked away did she let the wind of regret blow in. She simply packed a bundle and left the estate where she had grown up. Then she went alone to the town to struggle for a living. However, because of the ugly scars on her face, she was rejected again and again when looking for work. She did not even have a place to stay. Fortunately, she met a kind person, and this person was also a member of a controversial salon of learned women. The so-called Learned Women Salon was made up of noble ladies and young women. This organization allowed only women to join, while men were completely kept outside. They gathered to discuss philosophy and faith, living freely, fully, and without male control. Maria, the organizer of the salon, became Lucia's first benefactor here. She could not bear to see Lucia reduced to wandering the streets, so she kindly let Lucia work here as a maid. Seeing that she was eager to learn and longed for freedom, Maria made her secretary and took her along on a trip to Venice. Of course.
Must it be Venice?
Why? What's wrong with Venice? Have you ever been?
Lucia had never been to Venice, but the Jackamo she loved deeply was there. Maria gave her a new name, Galathea. This name means a beautiful woman. A person's beauty should not be limited to appearance, but should come from within. Although Lucia understands this truth, in a place like Venice, where looks matter so much, she still does not dare go out. Fortunately, they are going to attend a masquerade ball. Everyone will be wearing masks, so she will not look out of place. At the ball, Lucia unexpectedly reunites with the Countess's daughter, but she does not remove her mask and reveal who she is. Instead, she indirectly asks about Jackamo's recent situation. She learns that he has recently gone to France, but his brother is still at the old house where they live. Lucia goes there wearing her mask, but the other man clearly mistakes her for one of Jackamo's admirers. From his brother, Lucia learns the truth. Although Jackamo has successfully entered high society, he has not truly found his footing. He keeps drifting between different women. By rough count, more than 100 women have been entangled with him. He became what he is today because he was once betrayed by the woman he loved most. Lucia never expected that the breakup she had been forced to propose would hurt Jackamo this deeply. She regrets destroying her own happiness with her own hands, and she feels even more sorry that Jackamo spends his days among women instead of continuing to chase the dream he once had.
What of your dreams?
What can I hope for? No man would want me like this.
Why do men always have to be the ones allowed to do the wanting?
Maria hands Lucia a mirror and tells her to see herself clearly. True beauty is hidden behind this face. The life she wants to live should not be decided by others. She brings Lucia to a pleasure house run by a friend of hers. She tells Lucia that even women without any family background can live freely. The women here are not bound by anyone. If they do not like this profession, they can leave at any time. Lucia thought she would never set foot in such a place again, but she never expected that life could change so quickly and unpredictably. It turns out Maria is doing this to give Lucia a way out. She is already terminally ill and does not have long to live. She worries that after she dies, Lucia will have no one to rely on. That is why she finds her a place where she can shelter. Sure enough, before Maria's body is even cold, Lucia is driven out by her family, penniless. She takes her treasured books to a pawnshop, but the money she receives is only enough for one day's food. To survive, she has no choice but to treat herself like merchandise. But when the man sees the scars on her face, he angrily pushes her away. He curses her as an ugly woman. To vent his anger, he even falsely claims Lucia is a thief. Because of this, Lucia is sent to a place like purgatory. Locked up here are courtesans who have grown old and lost their beauty. Their final value is to weave endlessly like machines. On Lucia's first day inside, her food is stolen. While working, she must also endure men's disgust and verbal abuse. After regaining her freedom, she is forced to become a human model in order to survive. She allows people to study the scars left after surviving smallpox. With this money, she redeems the books she had pawned earlier, because they were the shared passion between her and Jackamo. However, to have a place to stay. Lucia has no choice but to find Maria's friend. In the end, she becomes a unique presence in the pleasure house. She is clearly extremely scarred, yet countless men fall under her spell, all because she wears an eye mask every day and never takes it off. Outsiders all believe the face under the mask must be breathtakingly beautiful. They have no idea that half her face is covered in raised scars. To survive, Lucia has no choice but to fall into this life, and because half of her beauty is hidden, she gains enough mystery. One day, while enjoying an opera at the theater, she unexpectedly runs into one of her regular clients. Unexpectedly, he has brought a friend with him. This person is Jackamo, the first love carved into Lucia's blood. Fortunately, the black veil hides Lucia's tearful eyes. Otherwise, Jackamo would surely notice something wrong. He warmly invites Lucia to attend a party after the show. Lucia also forces herself to stay calm and gladly agrees. Only after they leave does she take a deep breath. Only the strained corner of her mouth reveals the bitterness inside her. 16 years is enough to change many things, but her feelings for Jackamo have never changed, although she already knows he has become a playboy. When she hears that he moves between rich ladies of noble families to build his wealth, Lucia still feels a sour ache in her heart, not only because of the regret between them, but also because she is sad that he gave up his dream of making something of himself. At the party, Lucia greets Jackamo calmly, the way she treats other men, but just a simple kiss on the hand almost makes her break down in tears. Fortunately, another regular client, Mr. Jameson, comes over to greet her, giving her an excuse to leave. Jameson is a wealthy American businessman. He inherited the textile business his mother founded. He and Lucia share the same views. They both believe a woman's life should be controlled by herself, not blindly ruled by men. Watching the two talk back and forth with such understanding, Jackamo feels a strange jealousy rising inside him. For some reason, a sour feeling rises inside his heart. Through the eye mask, he seems to see a familiar figure that he both loves and hates. While Lucia is touching up her makeup, he somehow follows her as if possessed. Jackamo says that rumors do not begin to capture your charm. There is a question that has been circling in my mind. What made you decide to hide yourself? Lucia replies that there is no harm in keeping a little mystery. 16 years ago, when the two first met, they talked about Voltaire's books and their hopes for the future. But now, they are discussing Jackamo's romantic affairs and Lucia's life in the pleasure trade. Jackamo, who has always had women chasing after him, hits a wall for the first time, because Lucia shows no sign of having any fondness for him at all. This undoubtedly awakens his desire to conquer her. Jackamo tells Lucia, "I will make you feel my charm, even make you want to be conquered by me." After the party, he begins coming to see Lucia frequently. With great confidence, he says he will win her heart within 2 weeks. Lucia does not want to become an object to be conquered, but since he is the man she loves deeply, she still cannot give up any chance to spend time with him. That night, she and Jackamo dance their first dance together, but with the little reason she has left, she restrains her burning feelings. Although she refuses Jackamo's request for a kiss, the ambiguity with the man she loves still fills Lucia with secret joy. The next day, the two ride horses to the seaside together. Here, Lucia finally asks the question she has always wanted to ask. He once said there was a girl who hurt him, so what kind of person was she?
Please, don't ask me about Lucia.
Will you tell me why you loved her then? Was it for her mind or for her beauty?
Loved the way she saw the world. It changed the way I saw it.
Lucia never expected that what Jackamo loved was not her appearance, but her inner self. This finally makes her lower her guard. She offers him a deep kiss and gives herself completely to Jackamo. However, he says he must leave for France the next day. Lucia still does not have the courage to take off the eye mask and reveal herself. She can only watch helplessly as he leaves once again. Every day, she writes letters to Jackamo to ease her longing, but 3 full months pass, and she does not receive a single reply. It is also during this time that Lucia discovers she is pregnant. One day, before returning to his country, Mr. Jameson comes to say goodbye to Lucia. He says Jackamo is frantically pursuing the daughter of a wealthy man. He cruelly tells her the truth only because he does not want Lucia to be kept in the dark, waiting bitterly for a man who does not love her. Lucia is so shocked she cannot speak for a long time. In a daze, she somehow walks back to the weaving room where she was once imprisoned. One of the mad women suddenly tears off her eye mask. Lucia's scar-covered face is exposed completely, but what she never expects is that Jameson is not scared away. Instead, He tenderly touches those marks and holds her tightly in his arms. He tells Lucia as if she were a treasure that before him, she does not need a mask at all, nor does she need to deliberately pretend. He will set off for America next week. If Lucia is willing, he will take care of her and the child in her belly. Of course, he is not doing this out of pity, but out of admiration and love for her as a person. That night, Lucia writes a letter to Jackamo, who has been avoiding her. She tells him that she knows news of Lucia. Sure enough, the day after receiving the letter, he rushes back in a hurry, but after learning the whole truth, he still refuses to believe it. This person with a face full of ugly scars could actually be the Lucia he once loved.
I cannot. I don't know how to.
Go.
At the moment Jackamo turns away without hesitation, Lucia feels that the weight pressing on her heart suddenly disappears. With relief, she walks into the familiar pawnshop. She pawns the necklace Jackamo gave her together with the books. However, she does not take back the payment she is owed. She openly reveals her scars, takes her small luggage, and goes to find Jameson, who is about to return home, because this is the man truly worthy of entrusting her life to.